I've always loved Grandpa's stories. He always feels like he's lived a very long and ridiculous life.
So a couple of years ago, or more than a couple of years ago, me and my brother went with Grandma and Grandpa to the theater in Trenton to see some, according to me, old people's play.
So I remember last December when we went to see Quinn do the Spartanburg Ballet, and all my family and Grandma and Grandpa both went to go see it. And afterwards we went out to dinner in Greenville, and Grandpa was telling a lot of jokes, and one of my favorite was about a Jew and two Arabs on the plane.
So I remember one time when I was driving up from Lawrenceville and visiting friends that I decided to stop by Princeton on a whim. And so I called up Grandma and Grandpa, and Grandma was busy, so I just went out to dinner with Grandpa. And Grandpa and I went to Confectionately Yours, and it was on Wednesday, so there was a magician that apparently comes every Wednesday. And it was a really good time to meet Grandpa, and then he told me this joke.
Yeah, there were these two hikers hiking in the woods a while ago. Very hungry hikers, been hiking for days, maybe even a week, who knows. But they're getting pretty desperate for food.
So there's like a little boy, and he's asking his grandfather what breasts feel like.
So when Lexi and I were little, before Haley was born, we went to dinner with Grandma and Grandpa. And as we were on our way to dinner, my parents were making sure to be on good behavior. We're going out to dinner to a restaurant.
And they served old people's chicken.
So there are three men. I'm going to butcher this joke, by the way, because I don't remember all of it, but I remember the punchline very clearly. There were three men in the woods, and first one goes up to the other guy and he sees him talking on his hand like this.
We were at an ice cream parlor, and we were outside eating ice cream, and Grandpa decided to tell us a joke about a World War II fighter pilot.
My favorite story was actually told really recently, when Grandma said that there was one day when she was in the house, and suddenly Grandpa zooms into the driveway and sprints up the stairs and hops into the shower.
So they're hiking, walking along, come to a pile of bear feces, a pile of shit, that's something they call it.
What are you doing? Why are you talking in your hand? He goes, oh, well, I got struck by lightning a while ago, and my hand's now a cell phone. Look, I can talk into it.
And we're in the middle of dinner. I think they'd already gotten our food, and all of a sudden a spitball gets flown over the booth, and my mom looks at Ivan and you're like, which can't believe you guys are like, you guys behave.
And his grandfather says that when they're young, they feel like melons. When they're older, they feel like pears. And when they're old, they feel like plastic bags.
So there's an Arab near the window and in the middle, and the Jew was on the side. So in the middle of the fight, the Arab was like, oh, I'm gonna go get a Coke. The Jew said, no, don't worry about it, I'm gonna go get it. So he goes and gets a Coke and comes back, and during it, the Arab takes a shoe and spits in it.
And he's getting interviewed by an interviewer. And the interviewer, and basically what he says is, so I was fighting these Germans, and I see one Fokker over there, and one Fokker over there, and I shoot them down, and at 3 o'clock there's another Fokker, so I shoot them down.
And another one goes a little bit later, and both of us are like, we didn't do it. And then all of a sudden, my mom realizes that it's Grandpa.
And we watched the play, which was actually better than I expected from the amount of people who were 50 years older than me in the audience.
And then a cop came to the door and said that he saw Grandpa speeding, and he went and felt the car to see if it was warm, and it was.
So basically, ever since I was little up to now, I've always heard of this fabled joke from Grandpa that was passed down from generation to generation, apparently, called Lucky Pierre.
Being the desperate hikers that they were, they decided that feces was better than nothing. As at least one of them decided this. One hiker decided that he would eat the feces. Now,
So his grandmother gets offended and asks the little boy to ask her what penis feels like.
Grandpa's sending spitballs over into the other booth, and my mom couldn't get mad at him. She was like, Dad, what are you doing?
And so he sees him talking on the cell phone, and the other guy is just a little weird, but whatever, and walks away. Then he sees his other friend around the corner squatting around a tree.
So Drew comes back and gives the Arab the Coke. And then a little bit longer in the fight, the Arab goes, the other Arab goes, I need a Coke too. So Drew's like, oh, don't worry, I'll get it. So he goes and gets it, and while he's gone, the other Arab spits in the other shoe. And when the Drew comes back, he gives him the Coke, it's all good.
And the fabled Lucky Fear, I've always wanted to hear it, and I finally heard it about a year ago, I think. And you're supposed to hear it at 14, and it's apparently, I don't really remember it that well, but it's apparently a very dirty joke.
What the interviewer says, don't be offended, it's just that the Fokker was a World War II German fighter pilot plane.
He told Grandpa not to do it ever again, but the most ridiculous thing that Grandpa sped past the cop and said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep on going. Keep speeding and then sprint into my driveway and sprint into my garage and be in the shower, and somehow that would be a good excuse.
The other one was completely grossed out by this and wanted no part in it whatsoever. So after consuming the feces, the hiker projectile vomited the feces all over the woods. The other hiker, being grossed out by the feces, declared, finally, a hot meal.
When they're young, they feel like an oak. When they're older, they feel like a pine. And when they're old, they're like a Christmas tree because they're mostly for decoration.
So I think for the rest of dinner, they had to stop us from copying Grandpa during blowing spitballs.
Squatting there, and he's like, what are you doing? And the guy goes, I'm receiving a fax. It's a joke.
So at the end of the fight, they're about to land. The Jew puts his shoes on, and he feels the spit, and he goes, this has got to stop. Spitting in the shoes, pissing in the coats. So thank you, Grandpa, for your amazing jokes.
Grandpa says, no, those fuckers are frying muffins.
We went to Milana's, and there was like tons of food everywhere, and we really annoyed the restaurant people, and they had to keep talking to us. And then you told that joke in front of like all the quiet, happy people in the nice restaurant. It was great.
So that's what I remembered. I thought that was hilarious that Grandpa would be telling dirty jokes and trying to get it passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah, thank you, Grandpa Clive.
Thank you, Grandpa.
Excellent. Well, Grandpa's stories aren't that